The college football experience, Memphis Tigers 2023 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks, brought to you by Patreon. Yes, our Patreon. Score exclusive perks and content available only to our patrons at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Do that and remember to let it ride.
This is Jerry Glanville, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride, brother.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. Memphis Tigers 2023 season preview episode. It's an exciting time to be a Memphis Tiger fan. They got that FedEx money. It's NIL era. And maybe the Big 12's calling. Maybe the Pac-12's calling. I don't know shit. Maybe the ACC's calling. Who knows? It's college football. Maybe the NFL's calling. Who knows? All right, but I'm excited to break down the Memphis Tigers and talk about the upcoming season. We're going to go game by game on the schedule, trying to forecast the way the Memphis Tigers will be in 2023. We're going to look at the offense, defense, special teams, and the transfer portal, and talk about the classic, the legendary Liberty Bowl a little bit later on. But perhaps you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to, and that's fair. That's very fair. My name is Colby Swiggin Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink and I don't have stress and I'm healthy.
And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it. Good night.
Yes. Love that drop. YouTube that one, David Thompson. And maybe you're watching us on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience, because I think Memphis fans might sound a little bit like that after a few whiskeys. And they say, whoa. UCF? Houston? Cincinnati? There's talk of San Diego State. They're all going to get the pass to the P5 and we're not going to get that invite? Oh, I think they got a lot of problems. Those people, not the Memphis Tigers, because the Memphis Tigers have been putting together winning football seasons and basketball seasons for quite a while. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for host of the FCS College Football Experience, which you should be subscribed to, because what are you talking? I mean, the heart of football is in the FCS, folks. Come on. So check out that. This guy knows college football through and through. They call him Gulf Coast Guru. All right, they call him that. I call him Mike Rose, aka Gulf Coast Guru. How you doing, Mike?
Man, call me whatever you want as long as you don't get my name wrong every single time, like Mr. Ryan Silverflash. Man, I'm excited to talk some Memphis Tigers football. I think conferences are missing the boat here on a team that really could blow up. They already got the stadium, cool jerseys. Every Thursday night game at the Liberty Bowl ever has been awesome. This team has a lot of potential. I've been riding unders under Silver Fresh for a few years. I think this could be the year we may be talking about them in a different light, man.
That could be. And look, Memphis, and shout out to Nathan Haynes in the chat. Says he's been listening to all of them. What's up, motherfuckers? He says, yeah, what's up, man? And look, Ryan Silverhairs is a coach that I have, kind of came after in previous years, right? I said, I thought it was a cheap hire, but he's not as bad as I thought he would be. And then, look, I got to admit that when I think I'm wrong, I will address it. And if you look back at a season ago, man, if you look back and say, okay, well, this team, they made a bowl. Now, should you be probably doing more at Memphis than making a bowl? Sure. You're in a talent-rich city, but man, they had some close losses, man. They really had some close losses. Remember that Houston game, 1 point loss. They got like 2 onside kicks in the final 5 minutes. They lost at ECU in 4 overtimes. Well, that's understandable. It's really hard to win in Greenville because it's the greatest place on the planet. But I kept it close even with Tulane and UCF. 3-point loss to SMU. I mean, really the only game they got smacked was against Mike Leach, our pal, rest in peace, and Mississippi State. So, I mean, 7-6 a year ago, damn well could have been 10-3, 11-2, something like that. What do you make? I know, like, I think it's a big year. They didn't fire him after that. I think it's a very big year for Silverfield. He is just 21-16 as a head coach of Memphis. I think he's got to win this year, and I wonder what that number would be. Like, do you think if he has another 7-6 season, knowing the pending hope of potentially them in a Big 12 invite or wherever, do you think they would can him with 7-6 if he did that again next year?
I think, and we're gonna get into it obviously, but I think with this schedule that they have, 7-6 would be worthy of being fired. I think there's a lot of opportunity on this schedule this year for this team to really turn it around. So it all starts here. But I'll fire a question right back at you. If this team knocks out 8 or 9 wins, they're obviously going to keep with Mr. Silverfish. Do you think that's a great thing? The thing that I draw, and it's funny, it's a good comparison because Mike Norvell at Florida State last year, big year, looked like he was kind of on his way out. There was all the rumblings about Dion coming there, and he had a big year. And now Mr. Norvell is going to hang around down in Florida State for a little while. And I wonder to myself, is that good? I kind of see the same thing here with Mr. Silverfield and this schedule. It's, I mean, is it good?
Yeah, fair. And those are all key questions. And I would ask, like, if you're a Memphis Tiger fan, well, let me ask that let me answer that. If I could speak English, would be great. At the end of the episode, shout out to the whole chat though. Nathan Haynes was talking. Colin Fletcher said, just found Colby and the gang 3 months ago. You've been living life the wrong way. Whoa. Perhaps I appreciate you. Spread the word if you can. And shout out to Anthony Eason as well. That says Memphis is a sleeping giant in his opinion. If they get Power 5 status, I completely agree. We're going to talk, remind me to close out with that because I think that's a good way to end the show. Folks, we're going to talk all about it. We're going to talk transfer portal, offense, defense, special teams, go game by game on Ryan Silver Knobs, 2023 schedule. And folks, that's an old school joke. Cause when he first got hired, we didn't realize, I think it was an episode or 2 where we messed up his name and kind of ran with it on purpose. And then, then a bunch of people started commenting saying we're idiots for not knowing his name, even though we knew his name, but we thought it was humorous to mess it up. Same with the UCF Very Golden Knights, if you ever wonder that reference too. So don't worry, we're going to talk all about it. And Ryan Silverfish, we apologize if you're personally listening to this. But come on, my name's Colby. My whole life I've been hearing fucking people call me Corey, Kobe, Connor, everything. You know what I mean? Douchebag. I get that every so often. Look, before we get into all that though, I want to tell you that the college football experience Memphis Tigers 2023 season preview episode is brought to you by the Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon. Yes. Do your part in the war against corporate gambling, people, and sign up for the SGP Patreon. There's a ton of exclusive content, contests, and merch just for our patrons. Plus a monthly SGP stories podcast. Yeah. You want to hear some stories? Oh, we got you covered. It's an ad-free, uncensored show highlighting the best stories from decades of being DGens. And look, everyone wants that. The ones that are not released to the public. You know what I mean? Come on. There's a reason why they made a fucking show about Pam and Tom's video. You know what I mean? Not saying that I'm going to be on a boat. That'd be great if we did a fucking out on a boat in Cabo San Lucas. But look, it's just fantastic. All right. There's monthly stories. You're going to hear all that, all the stuff behind the scenes. There's even a Discord channel for the patrons. Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon is a great way to score exclusive perks and support SGPN. Once again, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Let it ride, people. All right, we are back on the college football experience. Memphis Tigers. I know Orgeron wasn't ever a coach at Memphis, as far as I know, and but still, I still feel like with any Tigers, you could say we Tigers. Well, and you know that's the name. If Silverhairs isn't able to get it done, Orgeron, come on. I know Patty C, huge fan of Mississippi River football. Memphis, if you've been to Memphis, Tennessee, is right there on the sweet Mississippi River. Let's hop in. Let's start with the transfer portal because it's always such a big factor in college football in 2023. The offense, the defense, you know, we're gonna talk all of that. But the portal, man, has been just. I remember doing this same exact show 5-6 years ago, and you'd be like, you'd highlight like 2 players transferred. Oh, they lost a backup linebacker to Nicholls State, and they brought in a wide receiver from Miami. Oh, interesting. 2 players. Now it's like the fucking 405 freeway on a Friday. Departing. Offensive tackle Chris Morris said, I'm out. He's still in the portal. Offensive lineman Devontae Dobbs says, I'm out. He's still in the portal. Defensive lineman Javon Nelson's in the portal. Linebacker Davion Mayo, portal. Man, a lot of people just stuck in that portal. Safety Brandon Warner, portal. Tight end Arrington McCray, portal. Linebacker Antoine Barham, portal. Defensive lineman James Stewart, portal. Defensive lineman James Quinterly, portal. They did lose cornerback Tyrell Raby to the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders and coach Rick Stockstill. Cornerback Ladarian Polk, portal. This one, Asa Martin at the running back spot to the Troy Trojans in the Sun Belt, just won a Sun Belt championship. So interesting one there. Eddie Lewis and the news at the wide receiver spot. He heads out to South Carolina and the Gamecocks. Tough loss there. Linebacker Jared Ned is in the portal. Wide receiver Cameron Wright also in the portal. Defensive lineman Cameron Jackson, 4-star transfer recruit. This was a brutal one to the Florida Gators. That's going to hurt a little bit. Wide receiver Javon Ivory to South Alabama, another really good school in the Sun Belt. Tight end Caden Prieskorn, some shit like that. He's now at Ole Miss with the Lane Train. That one, I mean, that was a pretty big hit there. Then you have linebacker Warren Peoples. He also hit the portal. Quarterback JC French. Running away like the French all the way to Georgia Southern. All right. In Statesboro. He hit the portal and then they lost running back Rodriguez Clark to Southern Miss and kicker David Kemp to the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Also wide receiver Markel Jones in the portal. Man, this list goes on and on. Athlete Eric Rivers. All right. No relation to Doc, but he is now at Florida International in the airport. And wide receiver Marlon Crockett is now at Arkansas. Whew, I mean, there's a few other ones. Rush Limbaugh, Rush Lansdale. He's in the portal at the linebacker spot. And I believe that's, I probably missed some. This is like picking up a phone book. Remember those things? Incoming. See, I haven't even done incoming yet, man. I'm sick of talking. Incoming from the portal is safety Cameron Miller from the Tennessee Volunteers. Offensive tackle, 4-star transfer get Colin Montgomery from the Oklahoma Sooners. Huge fucking get there. Absolutely huge. Offensive tackle Falentha Carswell from the Ole Miss Rebels. So it's like they did a little trade. Colorado safety Tyron Taylor transfers to Memphis. Colorado tight end Austin Smith also transfers to Memphis. Offensive tackle Marcus Henderson from the Arkansas Razorbacks transfers into the Memphis Tigers. Wide receiver Demir Blankumsey from the Toledo Rockets transfers into Memphis. Safety Simeon Blair, who I know from Arkansas as well, he comes in to the Memphis Tigers. Defensive lineman Josh Ellison from the Oklahoma Sooners, 4-star transfer. That's a huge one, especially knowing what they lost on the defensive line. Comes in to the Memphis Tigers. Texas A&M transfer Darius Jones also comes into the Memphis Tigers. Cornerback Malik Feaster from Florida State comes into the Memphis Tigers. Wide receiver Tauskie Dove from the Missouri Tigers, bringing in some SEC talent. He transfers in. LSU offensive lineman Xavier Hill transfers in as well. Defensive end from FAU. I like this kid too. Jalen Joyner transfers in. And Mississippi State running back Katravian Hargrove transfers in, as well as Ohio State safety Jalen Johnson, and punter Reed Bauer from the Arkansas Razorbacks comes in, as well as, I love this kid here, Old Dominion running back Blake Watson. This guy was good at ODU. Linebacker Chandler Martin also comes in from the East Tennessee State. What is their name? Buccaneers, I believe. They're coming in, and I think that's it. I think. Man, that's a lot of names. All right, that's a lot of names right there. What do you make of the portal, man?
Yeah. So what's up?
No, I'm sorry. Is that a win or a loss? I know that's really hard to gauge, but I'm curious your take.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of names flying in and out, and you really got to pay attention. You know, what I do is I kind of look for, okay, what are the positions that are hurting and what'd you bring in? That's how I really gauge it. How I'm looking at the offensive line. On offense, they lost 2 fifth-year senior tackles from last year's roster. They don't have them anymore. Their interior line, center, guard spots, good, returning starters. The tackles, they're missing them. So on offense, Colin Montgomery, you brought up, Falentha, Carswell, Marcus Henderson from Arkansas. You brought in some talent there. On defense, one of the big weaknesses I was seeing is cornerback, which they have some talent coming back there, but they had the 88th passing defense in the country, so it wasn't great. Now, what they were strong on was their rush defense, and they lost their interior defensive lineman. And I didn't see a ton of names coming in on that, so I kind of give it a wash a little bit. I would have liked to see them kind of focus on that interior defensive line, especially being that they run a 4-3. So I think the edges look good. I think the interior a little questionable.
So at the end of the day, you think slight loss on the portal because of the tackles? Is that what I'm gauging from all that? I'm gonna
say a wash. For the most part, a wash, because I think when you really look at what Memphis does, they like their offense. They don't so much like their defense. So they're playing into what they've been doing under Silver Flesh this whole time.
All right. Well, let's talk about this offense, because a season ago, 21st in scoring offense in the nation, 74th in rush offense, pass offense back to 21st in the nation, and the total offense at 38th, top 40 offense. You got to be happy with that if you're a Tiger fan. Defensively, actually, let's pump the brakes. Let's talk about defense in a second. Seth Henigan's, remember the Seinfeld? That's why I drink Henigan's. He is back for his junior season, and you got to like that because this guy's been playing pretty much since he's a freshman. So super experienced quarterback. And remember, the AAC is losing UCF, Houston, Cincy. I know Tulane's back. They won the conference a year ago, but besides them, you can make a case them and East Carolina, because they're the greatest. That it's really, I get it. UTSA is coming in and some other good schools as well, but it might be ripe for the taking there if you're a Memphis Tiger fan, with Henigan back, a super experienced quarterback. Also, I mean, the running back room seems pretty impressive to me. So they bring in Blake Watson. They still have Sutton Smith, and they still have Brandon Thomas and Ducker, Jeyvon Ducker from Northern Illinois. I mean, this is a crowded backfield of guys that I think are pretty good. I think it's actually one of the best backfields in the AAC. What do you make of the backfield?
Yeah, I agree. I love Ducker. I remember watching him pop at NIU under Tommy Hammock there. And then something, I mean, you hit all the names, but something to remember too is Henigan is actually, for kind of a fairly big frame, he's actually pretty mobile. Him and Brandon Thomas actually both combined for 557 yards on the ground. So that adds a real element that, I would like to see them 74th rushing offense in the country a year ago. I would like to see them kind of lean on that a little bit more, especially when the interior of your line is looking as good as it is.
Yeah, and the receiving core, obviously the big one there. It's like you lost a lot of those wideouts to the transfer portal / graduation, but they actually had, as far as drops go, they were one of the worst teams in the country as far as that. I know they might have some explosive, capabilities, but they definitely dropped the hell out of the ball a season ago. So maybe that all those losses aren't as bad as we think. But Tauskie Dove played at Missouri. He comes in. I know they're counting on Roc Taylor as another wideout. Joseph Scates as well. I actually think the receiving core, I know is probably just by looking at the names here and saying, well, they could be as productive as a year ago. I actually don't really panic too much in the receiving area, because if they led or they didn't lead the country, but they were one of the worst teams in the country with drops. The tight end hit, sure, I can buy into that, but I think they're going to go with what I think it's a little bit of a competition between Chisholm and Landfear. So I understand that the room for concern, but I'm not going to panic. Tell me if you're telling me on the offense the biggest concern is the wideouts. I think it's a good problem to have. Offensive line, I know we alluded to this specifically. They got hit in the portal with and graduation, but they are bringing back some guys that I do think you could be happy with. Mainly center Jacob Likes. Also, Davion Carter, who played started 11 games this season ago at the right guard spot, and then Jonah Gamble, great name. The tackles, obviously the concern, but that's why they can take advantage of the portal and bring in these guys. So bringing in a Marcus Henderson from Arkansas, the kid Jack Greer, I believe it is, from Ole Miss, and some of those other transfers from the portal. I mean, who knows how good they'll be, but to me, I can buy into it being all right. Especially with an experienced quarterback. What do you make of the offensive line and really the whole offense in general?
Yeah, I mean, offensive line, same thing as you. I think they plugged some pieces in that could really help. So, I mean, you can't say that you're not going to miss 2 fifth-year seniors, but I think they went out and they did the best they could in the portal. So, respect for that. When you're talking the receivers, yeah, they lost the top 5 targets from last year. Now, you already talked about the drops. The other thing is you're talking about a little bit of a system team. So I think you got a whole off season for Henigan to go ahead and get familiar with his new targets. These guys are going to come in. They're really excited about Tamir Blakeumsey. From what I see, he's expected to kind of be the deep threat this year. He's the guy. He's a burner. Impressed in the spring game. So that's something, as long as he can hold on to the ball. When he catches it, I don't know, maybe coat his hands and some stick him like Orlando Jones in the replacements. Let's go. Let's do it. I think the offense is going to be fine. It's Memphis's strong point. I think they're good.
Yeah, and then I do too. Like, I actually think they'll probably be another top 40 offense, if not better, knowing that the schedule gets lighter because there's no Houston, UCF, Cincy on the schedule. And you could also make a case with no Mississippi State there. Mississippi State was a 9-win team a season ago in the SEC West. Defensively, 59th in scoring defense from a season ago as a second-year defensive coordinator. Matt Barnes, no relation to the guy that fucked Derek Fisher's wife or whatever.
Ex-wife. It's fine.
Oh, yeah. But Matt Barnes is a defensive coordinator, and who knows? Maybe he's fucking your wife. All right. You never know. It's a wild world out there, but 59th in scoring defense, 27th in rush defense, passing defense at 88th. That is what we circle. Total defense, though, charting at 50th. So top 50 defense, top 40 offense. This team is probably a lot better than their record indicates from a season ago. But as we alluded to, a minute ago, the defensive line, when you lose a couple guys, they're counting on some guys coming in. Now, I will say, if these guys are just any good, which makes me think they could be, especially on the AAC level, because Cormonte Hamilton is a Ohio State transfer. All right. Josh Ellison is an Oklahoma transfer. If these guys can just break through, they return Jalen Allen at the left end spot. I know they're counting on Zy Brockington at the other defensive tackle spot, but if those transfers can pay off, I think they could really have a great season. Linebacker room, seems to be, another one where they only return 1 of 3. But once again, they go out and get East Tennessee State's Chandler Martin, who East Tennessee State played pretty solid ball over the past few years in the FCS. Once again, we host the FCS College Football Experience. Subscribe, tell a friend. But Jeffrey Canton-Arku was at Syracuse for a few years. He's there in that linebacking core. So a little bit unproven, but I can tell you this. If there's a strength on the defense, I do think it's going to be the secondary, despite their numbers from a season ago. Because when you bring in Malik Feaster from Florida State at the cornerback spot, you return Davion Ross, who was honorable mentioned all AAC a year ago at the other corner spot. You bring in Simeon Blair from Arkansas, Cameron Miller from Tennessee, the other kid from Colorado, and then you bring back your starting free safety Greg Rubin. I actually think the secondary is going to be pretty damn good this year. How about yourself?
I mean, it's so hard for me to. It's kind of the beauty of college football, right? Is the reason you can kind of like gauge it, even if you don't dig deep like we do, is teams kind of do the same thing year in and year out. So even when I see all the names coming into the Memphis Tigers, it's hard for me to like stand there and be like, no, this team's going to defend the pass really well. And it seems like when a team is kind of like a high flying passing offense, typically they don't defend the pass all that well and they end up in a lot of shootout stuff like that. So also defensive backs from Ohio State don't always really excite me. Maybe some safeties here and there, but and same thing from Oklahoma defense last year. So I'm hoping these guys, the talent will prevail. But
fair, but this is a different AAC. Like I said, you lose 3, you lose 3 of the top 5 teams in the AAC. You're kind of going to be going up against the Conference USA in a way. So that's where you say, hey, this is kind of our area to hit. They brought in like an A&M transfer. I know A&M wasn't good, but I mean, we know they've been recruiting really high. Yeah, I mean, I get your point, but they were still top 50 overall. They were 50th. You know what I mean? Like this team could be a lot better. Just knowing they bring back a few key pieces and were very active in the portal. So they could be better, and the competition's going down. So I think the defensive numbers would probably be better as well. I'm a little bit concerned on the defensive line. I think that's the thing that's got to prove it to me. They are breaking in a new kicker that came over from Sam Houston State and Seth Morgan, and punter Reed Bauer also coming in from Arkansas. So special teams brand new. I mean, I kind of think this team is ready to take a jump. So I understand maybe why they brought Silverchild back for another year. Before we go game by game, you would agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I mean, another thing too is something I like is the defensive ends that you mentioned. They both get a little bit of pressure on the quarterback, so that always helps out your secondary. If your defensive ends can get in there, force some bad passes, then your cornerback's gonna look a little better there. So I agree. I think there is room for improvement here that we might see.
There we go. Let's go, Tiger fans. All right, look, before we go game by game on the schedule, and hopefully you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. Subscribe, tell a friend, because also we host the college basketball experience. And when the season tips, I'm here every night. And I know Penny Hardaway's got a really good team on paper coming into this season. So folks, check us out there. But we come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. If you're watching, you'll see that sweet artwork in the background. But look, before we get to going game by game, I want to tell you that the Memphis Tigers 2023 season preview episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, the NFL season is right around the corner, and Underdog Pick'em is a great way to get down on a ton of NFL player props and is available in a ton of markets. Plus, there are plenty of ways, plenty of opportunities to win on their MLB daily contest. And make sure you enter their Best Ball Mania, where first place gets just a cool hard $1 million cash. Boom. Head on over to underdogfantasy.com. Use that promo code SGPN for 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Once again, that's underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. And I want to just crowbar this in, folks. We went with Underdog for a couple years. When college football starts, and I know Memphis plays some of these Thursday and Friday night games, they do a great job on player props within college football games. So, And you can find great value, in my opinion. If you know college football well, hop on in, check it out. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. All right, we are back on the college football experience. Shout out to the whole chat. We got Dick Gersberger in there rocking. He's rocking. He wants that Hall of Fame SGPN degenerate jacket. You need it, brother. And Dick Gersberger says, give me the over on the 7.5 wins. Look, we're going to get to that because look, if you're watching on YouTube right now, you see the win total. Shout out to Cam Kerr, 7.5 wins. They won 7 a year ago and the conference is getting worse and they bring back their starting quarterback. So call me crazy, but without really looking forward, looking deep into it, I would say, give me the over on first reaction. How about yourself, Mike?
So first reaction, like I said, ever since Norvell left, I've kind of been riding Memphis unders, and I haven't been super impressed with this team. So first reaction, without getting into the schedule, I was going to say under on this team, even at 7.5.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have been in agreement had the AAC not shifted. You know what I mean? So like, then I'm like, oh, they should be able to. And then when you dive into last season and the way they lost some of those close games, but let's get to it. Let's go game by game on the schedule because week 1, I mean this one should get ugly. September 2nd, Bethune-Cookman. Remember Ed Reed? He was their coach for like 5 minutes. He picked up some trash and said, "Man, fuck this." All right, that's always great. That's like when you sign up for the job and you don't realize, how ridiculous. I remember I was throwing newspapers as like a high school kid on the weekends in the Washington DC area, and I had a buddy, and it's funny because he never really had a job growing up, whereas like I worked at the grocery store, I worked at another spot. Well, I was like, dude, come make some bucks. Throw some newspapers, and we got to bag them outdoors and shit, right? And he was like, okay. It was the winter, in Washington D.C. area, and very cold. And he came out, and that was the one time. He's a good friend to this day, but after one night, he was like, "Yeah, I'm okay on this job, man. I'm gonna stay inside. All right, I'm gonna stay inside." That was the Ed Reed approach because Bethune-Cookman, I think. Reggie Theus is the former basketball player. He's also their basketball coach. I believe he's their athletic director. They're not going to be very good. So I will lay a solid 35 with Memphis, maybe even more. Depends when they call off the dogs, but I got them 1-0. How about you?
Yeah, I was out in Daytona not too long ago, campus right across from the racetrack. I've seen Costco's bigger than the Bethune-Cookman campus. So not surprised Ed Reed didn't really stick it out there. I'm sure panhandling with the guitar case is working out way better. So yeah, definitely Memphis here.
Yeah, and then week 2, and shout out to this game. My only knock with the week 2 game is it should be a weekday game because this is a rivalry game. They're about 45 minutes apart. Anyone ever been to Memphis, Tennessee there? And the Peabody and everything, you're right. You're like you could throw a fucking rock to Arkansas. So Jonesboro, Arkansas, about 45 minutes away. These teams have played I think over 70 times historically. Currently, Memphis has an 8-game lead on them. Their first ever matchup was in 1917, just to give you an idea. I'm sorry, no, 1914. Wow. 1914 was their first ever matchup where Arkansas State won 18-6. So love this game on the schedule. It's in Jonesboro at Centennial Bank or whatever the hell they're calling that stadium now. I gotta say, I think I still lean Memphis, even though it's a rivalry game. I just think they're the more talented team. Butch Jones, I know he's been recruiting at a high level in the Sun Belt, but I just don't like what I see there. So I lean Memphis here. Excited to watch this game. Wish it was like a week 2 schedule is fucking unbelievable. So like folks, if it's not too late, Memphis, if you're the athletic director's listening to this, move this thing to a Friday, please. But anyway, what are you doing here in this game?
Yeah, I mean, this game's been surprisingly close the last few years. Memphis has won it 3 straight times since 2020. but the games have all been within 3 scores, which kind of picture Memphis as a team that would bury a team that struggles like Arkansas State. So I guess that gives a little credence to the rivalry. Like you said, Butch Jones been recruiting really well. I've been kind of watching. I know he's not a great coach, but I've been watching and kind of waiting to see the talent show there in the Sun Belt. Hasn't happened. I got to favor Memphis even on the road. I'm going Memphis for the win. Yeah.
And then so 2-0, and then we do have a weekday game. So that's another thing is if there's even more of an advantage to play that Arkansas State game on a weekday, because get yourself some full rest before you host the Navy midshipman and Brian Newberry, brand new head coach at Navy. So I'm kind of intrigued by this, remember, but I think the NCAA rules have been, first off, I think they're fucking ridiculous. And I think I had the opportunity to interview Troy Calhoun the other day. He thought they were ridiculous. And, I have a lot of question marks with the service academies coming into this season because of these ridiculous rule changes that frankly, I think make the game more dangerous. I'm going to take them to beat Navy because Navy's kind of an enigma. We know Army's running out of the gun. We know Air Force is going to be running out of the gun. I haven't heard any reports on what Brian Newberry's doing. I know he hired the OC from Kennesaw. And it seems like Memphis has had their number lately, which, I think they've won a few in a row, I think. So I will take Memphis to be 3-0. How about yourself?
Yeah. So it seems like Navy's kind of going the Air Force route as opposed to the Army route. They're going to stick with what they know, maybe pass a little more, but still kind of run the triple option as well as they can. So it's going to be a big adjustment year for Navy, I think, especially when you factor in the new coach. Memphis, it's surprising. When I think of teams that do well against the service academies, against the triple option, I think, like a Notre Dame, obviously, who plays Navy all the time. And you're like, okay, Notre Dame, that's a smart intellectual school. Typically, the players that they're going to get, they're higher caliber intelligence because they supposedly have to be, if you believe that argument. Memphis isn't one of those schools I would see that way, but they typically hand it to Navy. So last year, 37-13, they've won 4 straight. I'm going to go with Memphis again here. Yeah,
so I agree, and it is weird because historically you think of Memphis as kind of like a pussy defense.
Yeah, exactly.
over the past like 10 years, I feel like, and Navy, you would think Navy would thrash them, but they haven't. This game sucks.
One thing with that game though, you look at it and it is on a short week for both teams, so we don't know what the hell Navy's going to run. Ryan Silverfresh probably doesn't know what they're going to run either. So short week could be interesting to prepare for that one.
Yeah. I think Navy gets that Notre Dame week 0 matchup though, that he'll probably study some tape on that. But this next game, so Saturday, September 23rd, I think it sucks. I mean, I like the game, but they could be playing this at the Zoo in Columbia, Missouri, or at the Liberty Bowl, 2 great stadiums. Instead, they decide on the NFL corporate fucking bullshit game in St. Louis at this terrible stadium, this roller rink. This thing that should only host fucking monster truck madnesses and stuff like that. Missouri. I mean, this game's interesting because Missouri, I want to say Missouri dropped like a 60 spot on them like 4 years ago, but Memphis, I think the all-time series is 4-1 in Missouri's favor. I'm surprised they haven't played more. You got Patty C. I hear Patty C. He's not on this episode, but I can just hear him saying Mississippi River football, baby. I'm going to take Mizzou to get this done. What are you doing here?
I got Missouri as well. This game does follow Kansas State for Missouri, though. They play Kansas State the week before, which, that game goes a little ways back. Kansas State, very physical football team. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do following up playing a team like that. But I got to lean Drinkwitz on this one just because the defense on Memphis might be a little susceptible.
Yeah. So I got them 3-1. You got them 3-1, and then the Boise State Broncos come to town. They've never played Boise. I like this. This is like a battle to see who can get into the Big 12. It's like Brett Yormark saying, schedule each other. Winner gets in. Right? Boise. I gotta favor Boise. Am I concerned a little bit of their super young quarterback on the road? Yes. Taylor Green's been very good, but if you look at the He barely played any road games as a starter a year ago, especially against decent competition. So I am a little nervous, but I am taking Boise State to get this one, and I got them 3-2 heading into the bye week. How about yourself? What are you doing here at the Liberty Bowl? This game's awesome, actually. By the way, this game's a very fun game to watch.
Yeah, definitely. And who better to go into a tough road environment and get a win than Boise? But here's the thing: this is the second leg of a back-to-back for Boise for the Broncos, and Andy Avalos really hasn't proven to be that caliber of coach with the Broncos yet, to where I feel confident that they're just going to stroll in there and beat this team. So I'm going to go with the Tigers. I'm going to go with Memphis to get this one done and shut down Taylor Green on the road.
Wow. 4-1 heading into the bye. Fucking Beale Street will be rocking. You'll catch silver chest at the BB King, shit hammered every night. All right, out of the bye though, and that's a much needed bye because weeknight game, awesome weeknight game. Patty C, I know he's happy once again. Mississippi River football is back because, and I completely agree that they should have to take a riverboat down to this game. All right, and I want to document it, and we can document it on SGPN. But I think that would be very cool. I want to see some gambling, some some games, some dice going on the old riverboat. I'm sorry. I thought this was at Tulane. No, either way, Tulane's got to hop on the riverboat then and go up to Mississippi.
Memphis can still take one. It's fine.
Let's play into this, and they should go to that Missouri game via the Mississippi. Come on, let's do this shit. If we're gonna do it, let's go all the way. All right, and Navy, come on. The Navy should go around. You know what I mean? Go around the Atlantic, come through the Gulf, come up the Mississippi. We can really do this. This game's awesome. And this was a close game, 10-point game a year ago in New Orleans. Man, I'm going to take Tulane, but I don't feel great about this. I think it's a 1-score game, but I tell you, I am a believer in Willie Fritz. And they bring back Michael Pratt. I think that gives them the edge. Give me Tulane, but I can see this one being a game. I'm excited to watch it. How about you?
Yeah, so the home team has won the last 6 of these matchups. So that already is a little bit in Memphis's favor, I would say. Memphis gets the bye before, but so does Tulane. So kind of even playing field. That's why I'm going to give the edge to Tulane here, just because they get the bye as well. But definitely not a gimme game. And that's one of the things I like about this Memphis team this year. Seems like all their toughest games, they're in the Liberty Bowl. Good recipe for this team.
Let's go. They've been playing Tulane since 1954, folks. Love this. Love the history of college football. All right. Well, that puts me at having them at 3-3, 3-3, and you got them at 4-2. Now they head down to Birmingham, Alabama to take on Trent Dilfer. Cue up the Navy. What did I say for Navy? We could just hit repeat because I was shocked by the Trent Dilfer hire at UAB. He's made a bunch of crazy headlines this offseason. I have no idea how this guy has never been he hasn't even been a position coach in college. His only college experience is being quarterback of the Fresno State Bulldogs back in the day. I'm taking Memphis to get it done just because, I mean, I know UAB's been talented lately and maybe this is a sneaky game, but I have a really hard time forecasting UAB. So give me Memphis in Birmingham at Penetrope Stadium to get it done. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I don't love the hire there. It seems like they just kind of grabbed a big name. If you consider Trent Dilfer a big name, like Nathan Haynes in the chat, he said, who else is coming to coach at Memphis? I mean, one of the names you could just kind of casually toss out, maybe Eddie George. Is he ready yet? No, but like Dion, I don't necessarily think Dion is some great coach, but you bring a name, you add in the portal, you add in NIL, you get some good coordinators and pieces around. Now you're talking about a good program. Trent Dilfer, I don't know if I'm a recruit, if I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to go to Birmingham, Alabama to play for Trent friggin' Dilfer.
Yeah, he won a Super Bowl. He's like, hey, I won a Super Bowl. Yeah. What do you got?
Yeah. But ask homeless Eddie Reed if Trent Dilfer won that Super Bowl. I don't know if he did. So I'm going to go with Memphis. I don't like the hire. I'm not confident in the team.
Yeah. I think they're a fascinating story. Like if I had to list 20 teams we have to watch each week in college football, UAB would be on that list. Back to back away here in Denton, Texas. Once again, a brand new head coach. How many fucking brand new head coaches do they play? They're in Denton, Texas. I got to give the edge to Memphis, but October 28th could be a little sneaky. Back to back away. There's that crazy stat over the past few years about the second end of a back to back away. But you know what? Give me Memphis to jump back to 5-3.
Yeah, I mean, you created that crazy stat. I remember that's where I really started following on to it after I started listening to you. So shout out to you on that one. And 5. That's another thing I love about this schedule. 5 new head coaches, and not just like new like to the program. They're friggin' new to the whole head coaching role. So very interesting. I got to go with Memphis here. I think it might be a little bit of a shootout, maybe, but yeah, Memphis for me.
Yeah, 5-3 for you. It's what 6-4 or 6-2, 6-2, right? I can't do math. South Florida, they went out and hired Alex Galesh, former Russian spy,
Russian defector, man.
Yeah. He's now after coming over from Tennessee, he's the new head coach at South Florida there in Tampa. I mean, that's an area with a lot of talent still. Year one, give me Memphis here to get it done. That moves me to 6-3. Once again, that win total 7.5, folks. What are you doing here at the Liberty Bowl against USF, the South Florida Bowls?
Yeah, so this is my area. I live in the Tampa area, and this is one of the least sexy hires of the year. There was rumblings about Dion coming. Dion wanted say in the new stadium. I'm like, give Dion say in the new stadium. Give him the mayor's wife. Give him whatever you want. I don't care. Key to the city. Whatever you need to give him it.
Give Derek Fisher's wife.
Yeah, exactly. She's getting passed around. No offense. I'm sure she's a great woman. But Galesh, what I don't like is when you hire a coordinator, particularly in this case, an offensive coordinator from a coach that is clearly an offensive mind. Heupel was Scott Frost's offensive coordinator. He was the genius behind that. Now I think we're kind of seeing with what happened with Scott Frost when he went to Nebraska, and then Heupel goes to Tennessee, blows that thing up. So I can't put my faith in Galesh because I don't know if I trust him as an OC when you got such a good offensive mind as the head coach. I don't love the hire. I love the game for Memphis. I think it's an easy win.
All right. And now November 11th, they head to Jerry Richardson Stadium to take on Biff Poggi, who was fucking hilarious today at AAC Media Days. Dude, did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I love that guy.
I took the under on Charlotte, and folks, I can tell you, someone in the chat was saying they wrote down all my overs or unders. I'm gonna reverse mine to the over. I'm sold. He had a confidence about him. He's like, only 3 fucking questions. You picked us to be last, and then he slams his hand down on the table. I'm buying in. I'm buying stock. Maybe this is an upset. I actually kind of fear this game, but I'll take Memphis because I think they're more talented right now. But I'm telling you, I think this game might be a little harder than what we think. Give me Memphis to get it done and go to 7-3 with 2 games left. What are you doing here?
I remember the first pictures coming out of Biff Poggi when he got the job, and he had the cutoff shirt with the side boob coming out. And I'm like, yeah, I'm behind this dude. I like this dude. I think he's got it. I think this is a tricky spot. This is a sleeper spot, especially going on the road to the stadium. You've played now 3 new coaches in a row, maybe 3 teams that Memphis can exploit a little bit. And you got the SMU game on deck, which should be, getting there maybe for the conference. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, tough game. I'm going to go with Memphis just on the rosters, but yeah, sleeper spot.
So that puts you on the over, 8th win. I'm still at 7, but they host the SMU Mustangs. This game's fantastic. Should move this to the weekdays too on a Thursday night. That'd be nice, but it's not. And look, SMU, Memphis, I kind of give the slight edge to Memphis here. It's at the Liberty Bowl. This is kind of a coin flip game for me, but this will push me over to 8 wins, 8-3. Give me Memphis to take down SMU in a very interesting game that could dictate the future employment for Ryan Silverchair. What are you doing here against the Mustangs?
Yeah, so the home teams won the last 4 of these games last year, 34-31 for SMU. So I saw 2 50-50 games. I saw Boise State and SMU 2 50-50 games that were home games at the Liberty Bowl. I gave them the win over Boise, so I gave them the loss to SMU. But like you said, flip a coin. This one could go either way.
Yeah, and then you have the season finale, just the random fucking game, and this is the one, man. This is the one. Everyone's gonna think Memphis is about to play for an AAC championship, and they're gonna have to make that trip to cold ass Philadelphia with like 3 people in the fucking crowd, which I think is actually an advantage for Temple. When no one goes to the games, the players don't get super excited. There's a psychology on this. It's like, oh, no one's at this game, like this is this is terrible to me. If I'm a Memphis fan, I'm like, damn it. Why couldn't they give us North Texas at the final game of the year? They lose this. They go 8-4. I'm still on the over. Barely. Right. And I do think Vegas nailed the number. They nailed the number, but I do think the over is the play. If you're going to play this, you play the over. And I got Temple pulling upset. Because let's be honest, I feel like either Temple or Charlotte can get them. Someone's going to get them that we're not seeing. You go back and look at, I feel like the past couple of years, some of their losses are like, wait, it's like, okay, Temple beat them 2 years ago. Last time they came to Philly, they lost. So what are you doing here in Philly?
There's a joke in there somewhere about a certain Temple alumni and sleepy environments and things getting a little easier. I'm not going to take it. I'll take the high road. Friggin' Temple, home team has won the last 6 of these games. So very good chance.
I told you, man.
Very good chance, especially this time of year, that you take a loss going up there. But I went with Memphis. Easily a game they could lose, but I took Memphis to get it done. They're a better team.
So you got them, what, 10-2 or 9-3?
9-3, man.
Okay. Wow. So you can lock it up. I might, they could get Boise that I'm scoring as a loss. I do think the over's the play here. And I kind of like it. I don't know if it's a lock for me, but I kind of like the over here. How about yourself?
So there's a lot of, it's kind of hard. Like you scan different books, if you shop around a little bit. Memphis, I don't know what the reason is. I haven't dug into it deep enough to know. It's not showing on a lot of books. So I've also seen it at 7.5 on DraftKings. I've seen it at 8.5 on another site that somebody I know uses. So 8.5, I think I'm leaving it alone. I'm not touching it. 7.5, it is a lock for me. I'm on the over. Schedule's too perfect.
Yeah, and I actually think at 8.5. I know you just had them at 9-3. At 8.5, I think I lean under. Because a whole win. Because we're just assuming UAB is going to be ass. Like UAB's roster they've been good over the past 5-6 years. Like if Dilfer has any type of brains and just lets the OC and DC do his thing, they're going to be talented. I mean, Alabama just took their starting safety and he's going to start at Alabama. So I don't know. I just feel like, watch out. All right, look, before we get out of here, I had a chance to sit down with Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour, to talk about the legendary, in my opinion, one of the best stadiums in college football, the Liberty Bowl. So here's that interview with no further ado. Joining me on the College Football Experience Memphis Tigers 2023 season preview episode is none other than Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour, which is a Twitter account that, Michael Barker is a person that runs this Twitter account. And look, it's at CFB Campus Tour on Twitter. And wow, I mean, this page must follow. If you love college football, which you should if you're a Memphis Tiger fan, you should hop on over there and follow this Twitter account because he goes to every college football game that's ever on TV and he documents it on his Twitter account. But B, he also shows the history of the stadiums. It's absolutely fantastic. Michael, I appreciate you hopping on the show talking about the Liberty Bowl, brother.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I don't think there's a stadium that ends in bowl that I don't really like. So Liberty Bowl is one of my favorites. So it has a lot of history, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I know it always looks super cool from the outside because of like the I don't even know if I can describe it perfectly, but like it reminds me of the big sombrero back when they used to play in Tampa, where it just has this cool architecture to it. I know they're doing renovations or something soon, right? Tell me about the history of this and what those renovations are.
Yeah, so it is similar in design to Tampa Stadium. They call it the Big Sombrero. The best way I could describe it is the sides along the sideline are higher than the end zone, and it comes down at a slope, and it kind of looks like a sombrero hat. The Big Sombrero Tampa Stadium was built 2 years after the Liberty Bowl, so actually Tampa Stadium was designed to look like the Liberty Bowl, but it opened in 1965. It has a 62,000 seat capacity. It's home to the Liberty Bowl game, which started out in Philadelphia, which makes sense because Liberty Bell, Liberty, right? Philadelphia. Yeah. Attendance was pretty poor in Philadelphia, so they moved it to Memphis, and it did well, and it's been there since 1975. They've hosted the Southern Heritage Classic featuring HBCU since 1970. In 1975, there was a Major League Baseball exhibition game there between the Braves and the Brewers, and they couldn't move the stands. So right field was 174 feet, and Hank Aaron played there. And during the exhibition, I read the article, and they said he blooped one over the right field, over the 174-foot fence for a touchdown or for a home run. And then tons of leagues have played in the Liberty Bowl. I got the WFL, the NASL, the USFL, even the CFL, the NFL when the Oilers came, the XFL, and the defunct AAF. So this place gets a ton of action. And then as far as the renovations go, there is a plan to modernize, expand the press box and some other improvements. And I believe that's ready to go in 2025. So I think following the season, they're going to start doing construction at the Liberty Bowl.
Fantastic. I've lobbied this, and I think me and you are in agreement here, but like in one of my flaws with college football and why we need a commissioner is that we play these national championships at these like terrible locations, in my opinion, with the exception to the Rose Bowl. Like this is one that is historic, that looks awesome, that should be playing a lot more important games. Yes, Memphis, but also one where it's like, if you're doing the CFP and you got a 12 team and you guys like, one of the things I hate is that they don't want to play on campus, which I think they should play as many games on campus as possible. But if you told me like, okay, no, you got to have a couple when you get to the Final Four or when you get to the championship game, if you keep this in rotation, I think the Liberty Bowl, along with the Sun Bowl, the Rose Bowl, some other classic stadiums out there, should be, the ones that get those games. Instead, they go to like the Mercedes-Benz Stadium or something, like a bunch of nonsense there. But I think Liberty Bowl is one of those ones that is classic. And I want to see Memphis. There's a lot of talk that Memphis could end up in the Big 12. Can you imagine? Then we get some huge games at the at that Liberty Bowl. So tell me, how many times you've been here?
And just before I get into that, last year the national championship was at SoFi Stadium, and we know that in LA the Rose Bowl is right there. And I'm thinking, why are we playing the national championship in a NFL spaceship when we have maybe the most classic stadium in the history of college football available, ready to go? So I'm with you. I've been to two games at the Liberty Bowl in 2018 and 2021. The most memorable one was 2018. They blew out Georgia State 59-22. Quarterback Brady White threw for 5 touchdowns, and NFL running back Darrell Henderson ran for 233 yards, 2 touchdowns on just 16 carries. And it was a show. It was fireworks. And I'm looking forward to, they play a Thursday night game, week 3 against Navy, and I will be there. And what's cool about the early games, the sun goes down and it's still out, and you get these cool photos, with the orange, bright red sky there, right in the background of the Liberty Bowl. So I can see that photo, and I'm looking forward to being back out there to snap it.
There you go, man. So look, you go down there, folks. Check out the Liberty Bowl. Check out Beale Street, BB King's, all that stuff. The Peabody Hotel. It's a perfect connection, folks. And yeah, I hope to see Memphis. I actually am really hoping that Memphis lands up in the Big 12 because I think it would be fantastic for the sport of college football because they'd be getting bigger games. But either way, I am always glad to see a game at the Liberty Bowl. Michael, I appreciate you hopping on this show and talking about the Liberty Bowl and the Memphis Tigers, and hopefully, like we said, hopefully we'll see some big time games there.
Yeah, big time. And I think part of the reason they're doing the renovation is to make themselves more attractive to possibly the Big 12. So exciting times is always a cool experience, but if you build on what they already have with some modernization aspects, it's only going to get better. So appreciate you having me as always, Colby.
Mike joining me. Whoa. I almost played it twice. Michael Barker. So look, let's talk about that. Cause look, we're both on the over. And to answer your question, 8-4, should you be happy if you're a Memphis fan? I think yeah, especially knowing it, like to be 8-4, 9-3, 10-2, New Year's 6. Now it's a shame it wouldn't be this next year, but you'll have Henigan back next year as long as another school doesn't, come in and steal him. And next year you're going to have an auto bid to the playoffs on the line. So it's a huge year. I mean, yes, theoretically, if you knew you were going into the Big 12 tomorrow, you might want a different coach. I don't know, but I think 8 or 9 wins. What do you think?
I think 8 or 9 does keep his job. I don't know that I would love it if you're looking to make that jump. I just haven't really seen anything. And when you're talking, I mean, like I said, the main reason I love the over here is because the schedule is so soft. You're beating up on new coaches. You had UCF and Houston, everybody jumping, to the Big 12. So I don't think it's necessarily a fair representation of how he is as a coach. I go off of the years prior, the last 3.
Very fair. And I think I probably agree with you in that capacity, but let's talk about this for 1 second before we get out of here. This Memphis, Tennessee is a hotbed for recruiting. You're right next to Mississippi, Arkansas. A lot of talent comes out of Mississippi itself. You're not that far from Louisiana. I do not understand. Like, I know the Big 12 is considering adding, I think the most recent rumor I've heard is Colorado and UConn. And that makes a lot of sense too, right? I'm not saying they shouldn't get those schools. But I think you want to get into that SEC, just like the Big 12 did with grabbing UCF. They got into Florida, and I think Florida, Miami, Florida State all feel a little threatened by that. Well, Knoxville, Tennessee is a fantastic place. I've been to a game there, but most of the talent in the state of Tennessee comes from the city of Memphis. If you get in there and you get your games on TV and start playing these fantastic games and the brand speaks for itself, long term, I think that could be a great fucking idea. Even the Pac-12, I know the Pac-12 is saying, well, we're thinking about expansion. Like, be progressive. To me, like, the Big 12 just had their best brand stolen by the SEC. Brands, I said, not football teams, brands, right? Go in and I know they already took UCF, which, like I said, is kind of a punch back. Cause I think long-term, the way that their enrollment is ridiculous. I think they can compete with Florida long-term. I mean, I really do. And then if you're able to jump into Tennessee and punch back a little bit, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think they're a sleeping giant, like the chat was talking about earlier. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think particularly, I'm one of those people. I don't know. I think I have an idea of how you stand on it, but like when I used to play the NCAA video game, like I wouldn't make a move like UConn to the Big 12. I get why the Big 12 would want to get up into the Northeast, but like having UConn in the Big 12 makes my skin crawl. So I'd much rather see a Memphis. And if I was the Big 12, I'd much rather want to bring a Memphis in than UConn. That would be my first pick as far as what's out there right now.
I mean, I think sure. Colorado and Utah would probably be the first, right? Those are like the ones where like, because Utah BYU rivalry and Colorado's longstanding rivalry with the Big 12. But I'll say this, like if they're talking about going from 12 to 16, because obviously they're at 14 now, but Oklahoma and Texas leave. If you're going for 4 and you can't get the Pac-12 schools, to me, UConn does make sense for the basketball brand. And then the fact that I think Yormark wants the eyes in New York City. Now I know UConn doesn't have a rich history of being successful, but they do have money. There's a big alumni there. So like, if they can pump that up and all of a sudden they can invest heavily into their football product, stranger things have happened. To me, it's a brand new day and age of college football with the NIL. And if you're that close to New York City and thriving businesses in Connecticut, it's a brand new day and age. I understand it. I think Memphis makes more sense, but I also see the allure of why you would want UConn. A lot of people just start laughing at that. And I'm like, no, I think actually long term, I get it if you're thinking from like a 5 to 10 year window, but if you're thinking 50 years down the road, I actually think it makes sense. And then obviously, I know he's talked about UNLV and Boise, but who knows? We'll talk about it all throughout the year. As we talk college football year round, folks. And remember, this is just one episode out of 133. So subscribe to the College Football Experience. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. Remember also to subscribe wherever podcasts can be found. We also host the College Basketball Experience, the College Baseball Experience, the FCS College Football Experience, and the Big 12 Experience. Subscribe to all those separate feeds and the Sports Gambling Podcast. So go check out that as well. And folks, I'm on the over. He's on the over. Give Mike a follow, by the way, too, at GCG_wins. Mike does great work. And Mike, appreciate you hopping on the show.
Absolutely, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Anytime, brother. All right. This is the College Football Experience, Memphis Tiger style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.